Get ready to step back in time with the iconic sitcom Sanford and Son, a show that has captured the hearts of millions with its unforgettable characters and hilarious moments. But behind the laughter lies a heartbreaking story. Today, we unveil the tragic fates of this beloved cast. Prepare to be shocked as we explore the unexpected journeys of the Sanford and Son family. A far cry from the happy reunions we hoped for. Let's uncover the surprising twists and turns that life dealt these cherished characters. Red Foxx as Fred G. Sanford. Fred G. Sanford is a sharp-tongued, street-smart, and irritable schemer whose frequent get-rich-quick schemes often fail miserably. His son, Lamont, desires independence, but is too attached to his father to move out and leave him alone. Although they each own an equal share of the business, Lamont frequently ends up doing all the work and insists that his father contribute, which he rarely does. Despite their disagreements, the two share a strong bond and frequently support each other. John Elroy Sanford, born on December 9, 1922 in St. Louis, Missouri, and raised on Chicago's South Side, saw success with his bawdy nightclub performances. After gaining recognition on the East Coast, his big break came when singer Dinah Washington urged him to move to Los Angeles. There, Dootsy Williams of Dutone Records saw him perform at the Brass Rail nightclub. Foxx was among the first black comedians to perform for white audiences on the Las Vegas Strip. In 1977, Foxx departed from Sanford and Son after 6 seasons to headline a brief ABC variety show, which led to the NBC series cancellation. He returned to his role as Fred G. Sanford in 1980 for a short-lived revival spin-off called Sanford. In 1986, he came back to television with The Red Fox Show on ABC, which was canceled after just 12 episodes due to poor ratings. Foxx also appeared as an Obi-Wan Kenobi-like character in the Star Wars special of The Donnie and Marie Show, humorously mentioning the planet Sanford, which has no sun. According to People magazine, Foxx once reported earning $4 million in a single year, but squandered his wealth through a lavish lifestyle, worsened by what he referred to as very bad management. His financial issues were further compounded by his divorces. Foxx spent over $150,000 during his divorce from his second wife, Betty Jean, including $10,000 monthly support payments after their 1974 separation. He was also required to pay $20,500 a month while awaiting divorce from his third wife, Joy, after their 1979 separation, and eventually paid her a $300,000 divorce settlement in 1981. On October 11, 1991, during a break from rehearsals for the royal family, Foxx suffered a heart attack on set. He was briefly revived and transported to Queen of Angels Hollywood Presbyterian Medical Center, where he was pronounced dead 4.5 hours later. Don Bexley as Bubba Bexley. Bubba Bexley is another of Fred's friends who often appears on the show, switching places with Grady as Fred's closest companion. Known for his contagious belly laugh and cheerful demeanor, Bubba primarily serves as a straight man to set up Fred's punchlines. His loud, "Hey Fred," often drives both Fred and Lamont crazy. Bexley, a versatile talent, was an orchestra conductor, singer, dancer, stand-up comedian, and actor. He started his comedy career in upstate New York in the early 1940s and was the first black stand-up comedian to perform on the Borscht Belt Hotel circuit. In 1989, Bexley was working on a sitcom he created and was set to star in called C. Cashman and You'll Stay Broke, which focused on a black Jewish pawn shop owner. Bexley made numerous personal appearances and signed autographs, including at the Newmarket Fair Day Talent Show in September 1996 and the Aberdeen Athletic Association in June 1996. One of his last appearances was at the NASA Langley Research Center's Black History program in February 1997, which contributed to his enduring presence. Bexley maintained a close friendship with Red Foxx until Foxx's death in October 1991, and served as an honorary pallbearer at Foxx's funeral in Las Vegas. Their friendship spanned nearly 50 years. Although Bexley spent much of his life in Los Angeles, he moved to Hampton, Virginia in 1996 to live with a friend who took care of him after he injured his hip. Bexley passed away from heart and kidney failure on April 15, 1997, at Hampton Centara Hospital at the age of 87. He was survived by his wife, Sally Bexley, and their 2 daughters. LaWanda Page as Aunt Esther Anderson. Esther Anderson, commonly known as Aunt Esther, is the devoutly religious sister of Fred's deceased wife, Elizabeth. Although Esther is a stern and somewhat humorless figure, she is very warm and affectionate towards her nephew, Lamont. Fred and Esther have a deep mutual animosity, and Fred's typical reaction to Esther's arrival is to make a dramatic grimace, followed by colorful insults. Page began her entertainment career at the age of 15 in St. Louis, performing in various acts that included fire swallowing, lighting matches and cigarettes with her fingers, and walking over hot coals. While she often burned herself in her early years, the injuries were never severe. In 1977, Page appeared in an episode of The Love Boat titled A Tasteful Affair, Oh Dale, the main event, alongside Sherman Hemsley. She also made several appearances on the Dean Martin Celebrity Roasts, and over the next 20 years occasionally guest-starred on popular TV shows such as Amen, Martin, 227, Family Matters, and Different Strokes. Page's comedy included blue humor, observational jokes, character-based skits, and physical comedy, often addressing themes of sexuality and religion, which elicited loud laughter from her audiences. She was one of the few women to perform extended spoken word pieces in the black, signifying or toasting tradition. Page was married and widowed 3 times. She wed her first husband, John Peel, in 1934 when she was just 14. They had a son who died in infancy in 1935 and a daughter, Clara. After the death of her third husband, when Page was in her 30s, she chose not to remarry. Page was a religious individual, initially affiliated with the Landmark Community Church during her early years in Los Angeles, before becoming an evangelist in the Holiness Church. Her daughter Clara followed in her footsteps as an evangelist preacher. Page passed away from a heart attack due to complications from diabetes on September 14, 2002, at the age of 81. Nathaniel Taylor as Rolo Lawson. Rolo Lawson is Lamont's closest friend. Fred frequently makes derogatory comments about Rolo, often implying that he believes Rolo is a criminal due to his past time in jail. For instance, in the episode Lamont Goes African, when Rolo introduces Lamont to his African cultural heritage, Fred dismisses it as a scam, remarking, "If there was money to be made, Rolo would become an Eskimo." Rolo Lawson is portrayed by Taylor, who was born on March 31, 1938, in St. Louis, Missouri. Before launching his acting career, Taylor worked as an electrician with the Performing Arts Society of Los Angeles, PASLA. His mentor, Larry Clark, encouraged him to audition for a role. Clark sent him to meet Red Foxx, who, after discussing their shared hometown of St. Louis, offered Taylor the role that would become Rolo Lawson on Sanford and Son. In October 2015, Jeff Cantor and Tim Franco, who had restored the show's iconic truck, decided to bring a cast member to reunite with the vehicle. Cantor reached out to Taylor, who agreed to sign autographs with the restored Ford truck. Taylor also signed autographs at the Hard Rock Rocksino Northfield Park in June 2016, alongside the 1951 Ford F1 Sanford and Son salvage truck. On February 23, 2019, Taylor suffered a heart attack and was taken to Ronald Reagan UCLA Medical Center. He passed away there from complications on February 27, 2019. Whitman Mayo as Grady Wilson. Grady Wilson is Fred's easygoing, somewhat naive best friend who frequently appears on the show. His signature exclamation is "good googly goo," which he uses to express delight or when he's in a good mood. Grady acts as Fred's sidekick and is often caught up in the various get-rich-quick schemes devised by Fred. Whitman Blount Mayo Jr. moved to Southern California with his family at the age of 17. While in college, Mayo started taking on small acting roles. To support himself and his family, he worked various jobs, including waiting tables, working in vineyards, and serving as a probation officer. He also spent 7 years counseling delinquent boys. Mayo had a role in The Cape as Sweets, the proprietor of Moonshot Bar and Grill. His film credits include The Main Event with Barbara Streisand, DC Boys and the Hood, and Waterproof with Burt Reynolds. He also appeared as Reverend Banyan in the BET TV movie Boycott in 2001 and in an episode of Martin. Mayo hosted Liars and Legends on Turner South and made appearances on Sesame Street. He taught drama at Clark Atlanta University and ran a travel agency in Inglewood, California. Mayo was also a member of the Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. In 1956, Mayo married Melva Washington, daughter of Clarence and Lena Washington, in Los Angeles. He lived in Atlanta's Collier Heights neighborhood from 1994 onwards with his third wife, Gail Mayo. Mayo passed away from a heart attack on May 22, 2001, at Grady Memorial Hospital in Atlanta. His son, Ron Mayo, was elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in 2009. Hal Williams as Officer Smitty Smith. Officer Smitty Smith, the affable police officer who brought a unique brand of humor to SANFORD and SON, was often accompanied by a partner in crime, quite literally, as they paid visits to the Sanford's residence. With impeccable timing, Officer Smith played off Fred's straight man setup lines, delivering punchlines that landed with comedic precision. Serving as a translator for Fred whenever police jargon was involved, Officer Smith also had a knack for correcting his partner's jive pronunciation, ensuring the dialogue was always on point. The talented Hal Williams, who portrayed Officer Smith, embarked on a journey to Hollywood from his hometown of Columbus, Ohio, in 1968, leaving behind a career as a postal worker and corrections officer. Hal Williams dedicated himself fully to the craft of acting in 1970 and hasn't looked back since. With the impressive list of credits to his name, Williams has graced both the big and small screens, appearing in films such as Paul Schrader's Hardcore, Howard Zief's Private Benjamin, and Clint Eastwood's The Rookie. In the early to mid-1990s, Williams collaborated with the hilarious comic Sinbad on projects like The Sinbad Show and The Cherokee Kid. Demonstrating his range, Williams portrayed a grandfather in the 2005 Bernie Mac film Guess Who. Williams also showcased his versatility with a guest-starring role in the 3rd season of the television series Kung Fu, playing a friend of Kane named Caleb. Beyond his professional achievements, Hal Williams is a family man at heart, having been married twice and fathered 3 children. In 1975, he wed Gay Anderson, but their union ended in divorce in November 1976. Gregory Sierra as Julio Fuentes. Julio Fuentes is the Sanford's Puerto Rican next-door neighbor who appears in seasons 2 through 4. When Julio moves in next to the Sanfords in the 2nd season episode, The Puerto Ricans Are Coming, Lamont quickly becomes friends with him. Fred, however, immediately dislikes Julio and comments, "There goes the neighborhood." Despite Julio's friendly nature, Fred often makes derogatory ethnic jokes about him and openly wishes he would return to Puerto Rico, even though Julio is originally from New York City. Sierra began his career on stage, touring with the National Shakespeare Company, and in 1967, he appeared as the Duke of Austria in King John at the New York Shakespeare Festival. He moved to Los Angeles in the late 1960s to pursue work in film and television. In 1992, Sierra played drug dealer Felix Barbosa in the Bill Duke-directed film Deep Cover, which also starred Lawrence Fishburne and Jeff Goldblum. He also appeared in the comedy sequel Honey, I Blew Up the Kid. The following year, he portrayed an Iraqi patrol boat captain in the comedy Hot Shots, Part 2. He played Villain Azul in the low-budget 1998 film The Wonderful Ice Cream Suit and appeared as Corbin Entek in the Star Trek Deep Space Nine, episode Second Skin. Sierra was of Puerto Rican descent. He married Eileen DeFelita in 1969, and they divorced in 1972. In 1976, he married Susan Pollock, who sadly took her own life in 1978. Sierra later lived in Laguna Woods, California, with his wife, Helen Tabor. He passed away on January 4, 2021, at the age of 83 after a long battle with stomach and liver cancer. Lynn Hamilton as Donna Harris. Donna Harris is Fred's on-again, off-again girlfriend who eventually becomes his fiancée. She works as a practical nurse and is known for her pleasant and even-tempered demeanor, which contrasts sharply with Fred's often blunt and coarse personality. Early on, Lamont is not fond of Donna, nicknaming her the Barracuda, and actively trying to break up her relationship with Fred. However, by the middle of the third season, Lamont begins to warm up to Donna, and they eventually become friends. Hamilton began her career in community theater in Chicago and made her Broadway debut in Only in America in 1959. She went on to appear in 3 more Broadway plays, numerous off-Broadway productions, and spent 3 years with the New York Shakespeare Festival. Besides her role on Sanford and Son, Hamilton had a recurring role as Verdi Grant Foster on The Waltons and made many appearances on television sitcoms, soap operas, and miniseries, including Good Times, 2 on 27, Dangerous Women, Generations, Port Charles, The Golden Girls, Gunsmoke, where she guest-starred as Mother Tabitha in the 1969 episode The Sisters, and Roots, The Next Generations. She also appeared on Barnaby Jones playing Laura Paget in the episode titled Sunday Doomsday on February 4, 1973. Hamilton had a recurring role as Judge Fulton on The Practice. Hamilton was married to poet and playwright Frank Jenkins for 49 years, from November 1964 until his death in August 2014. LaWanda Page, who starred alongside Hamilton on Sanford and Son, had a younger sister named Lynn Hamilton. However, the rumor that they were sisters was confirmed to be false by series lead Demond Wilson in 2016. Howard Platt as Officer Hoppy Hopkins. Officer Howard Hoppy Hopkins is a police officer who occasionally visits the Sanfords' home. Hoppy often misuses jive slang, which Smitty has to correct, such as saying cold instead of cool, torn off instead of ripped off, or right up instead of right on. Among the officers, Hoppy is the most cheerful, though his manner isn't always well received by others. Platt has had a range of comedic and dramatic roles on television, most recently as Reverend Weber on What About Joan? In addition to his role as Hoppy on Sanford and Son, Platt has guest-starred as Dr. Newman on The Bob Newhart Show, appearing in 6 episodes, Max on Alice, Major Ted Spector on MASH, and Judge Jonathan Stockfish on Evening Shade. He was also a series regular as Captain Doug March on the CBS sitcom Flying High, 1978-79. His film credits include T.R. Baskin, Nixon, The Cat from Outer Space, and Norma Jean and Marilyn. As a director, Platt has directed a dozen productions, including A Couple of Blagwards, Don't Dress for Dinner, Pump Boys and Dinettes, Love Letters, and Steel Magnolias. Pat Morita as Ah Chu. Ah Chu is a Chinese-American friend of Lamont, whom Fred often disparages. Fred repeatedly mocks Ah Chu with stereotypical jokes about his heritage. In a 5th season episode, Fred decides to befriend Ah Chu in order to enlist him as a cook for Sanford and Rising Sun, a Japanese restaurant Fred plans to open in the Sanford home. Pat Morita, born on June 28, 1932 in Ileton, California, was the son of Japanese immigrants. Morita's early film roles included playing henchman in Thoroughly Modern Millie, 1967, and The Shakiest Gun in the West, 1968, both times alongside Don Knotts. He also appeared in various skits on Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In, 1968 Season 1, Episode 8. Morita became widely known in the 1980s for his iconic role as Mr. Miyagi in the Karate Kid films. Despite his fame, Morita struggled with alcoholism throughout his life. He passed away from kidney failure, which followed a urinary tract and gallbladder infection on November 24, 2005, at his Las Vegas home at the age of 73. After his death, Morita's work continued to be recognized. He voiced Master Udon in the 2006 SpongeBob SquarePants episode Karate Island, which was dedicated to his memory. He also appeared in the independent film Only the Brave, 2006, which focused on the 492nd Regimental Combat Team, playing the father of Lane Nishikawa, the film's lead actor and director. Morita's posthumous roles included parts in Act Your Age, 2011, Royal Kill, 2009, and Remove All Obstacles, 2010. Raymond Allen as Woodrow Woody Anderson. Woodrow Woody Anderson, affectionately called Uncle Woody by Lamont, is married to Aunt Esther. He runs a hardware store not far from the Sanford residence. Woody is laid back, but to cope with Esther's overbearing nature and constant religious tirades, he frequently drinks and often appears somewhat inebriated on the show. Woody reprised his role in the Sanford and Son spin-off The Sanford Arms and made appearances on The Jeffersons, What's Happening, The Love Boat, and in the film Watt Stacks. Although he has not taken on any acting roles since 1985, his final appearance was in the television film Gus Brown and Midnight Brewster, where he spoke and signed autographs. According to his MySpace page, he had to retire from acting due to health issues. Allen was married to Barbara Williams from 1963 to 1977 and had 3 children: daughters Terrence Allen and Brenda Allen, and son Raymond Gilmore Allen Jr., deceased. Allen passed away in August 2020 at the age of 91 from a respiratory illness in California. His daughter, Terrence Allen, confirmed his death on her Facebook page. Marlene Clark as Janet Lawson. Janet Lawson, a divorcee whom Lamont starts dating in the 5th season, has a young son named Roger, Edward Crawford. The Lawsons make occasional appearances until Lamont and Janet part ways in the 6th and final season, due to the return of Janet's ex-husband. Born on December 19, 1937, in either New York City or Los Angeles, Clark grew up in Harlem, New York, and began her career as a fashion model. In the 1960s, she appeared in films such as For Love of Ivy, 1968, starring Sidney Poitier, and Putney Swope, 1969, directed by Robert Downey Sr. Clark, also appeared in Hal Ashby's directorial debut, The Landlord, 1970. Bill Gunn, who wrote the screenplay for The Landlord, cast her in his unreleased film Stop, 1970, and in Ganja and Hess, 1973. In the same year, she was also featured in Night of the Cobra Woman, 1972. Clark reunited with Gunn for Ganja and Hess, where she starred alongside Dwayne Jones. A.H. Weiler of the New York Times praised her performance, noting that Miss Clark is an arresting presence as the enamored Ganja, and that she brought style and humor to an otherwise unbelievable character. That year, she also appeared in Bruce Lee's Enter the Dragon, 1973, as a secretary. Throughout the 1970s, Clark was featured in films such as Clay Pigeon, 1971, Beware, The Blob, 1972, and Newman's Law, 1974. On television, she played Janet Lawson, Lamont Sanford's fiancée, in the 1970s sitcom Sanford and Son. Clark married Billy D. Williams in Hawaii in 1968, becoming the stepmother to his son Corey from his previous marriage. Their marriage lasted 3 years, ending in divorce in 1971. In a 2000 interview, Clark revealed she was nearly raped while filming a scene for Black Mamba. Clark passed away on May 18, 2023, the same day as her co-star from Slaughter, Jim Brown. She was 85 years old. Noam Pitlik as Officer Swanie Swanhauser. Officer Swanie Swanhauser is the original partner of Officer Smitty, replaced early in the 2nd season by Officer Hopkins. While Swanie shares a similar demeanor to Hoppy, being a white man with a serious and humorless attitude, he is strictly adherent to police protocols and uses precise police terminology. Fred and Lamont often find themselves puzzled by his language and rely on Smitty to interpret his jargon into more relatable terms. Born in Philadelphia to Dr. and Mrs. Samuel Pitlik, Swanhauser was educated at Central High School, Gratz College, and Temple University. He worked on the set design and construction team for the Philadelphia Experimental Theater. In 1952, he performed with the Summer Theater Guild in Indiana, Pennsylvania, in their production of The Philadelphia Story. His career included appearances in TV movies, commercials, and films such as The Fortune Cookie, The Graduate, Fitzwillie, and The Front Page. Though he mostly retired from acting in the mid-1970s to focus on directing, Pitlik made a few sporadic acting appearances over the following decades, with his last role being in an episode of Becker in 1998. He directed episodes for 29 different TV series, including Barney Miller, 102 episodes, the most of any director, Wings, 27 episodes, Night Court, 1 episode, Mr. Belvedere, 44 episodes, Off the Rack, 6 episodes, Taxi, 11 episodes, and One Day at a Time, 18 episodes. His directing work earned him an Emmy, a Peabody Award, and the Directors Guild of America Award for Barney Miller. Pitlik was married 3 times, first to Jessie Blostein on February 11, 1967, with their divorce finalized on September 29, 1970, then to Linda Hirsch on June 23, 1974, with their marriage ending on April 25, 1977, and finally to Susan Whitaker on January 18, 1986. This marriage lasted until his death from lung cancer at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center on February 18, 1999, at the age of 66. Slappy White as Melvin. The character of Melvin, Fred's old buddy from the first season of Sanford and Son, and a guest in one second-season episode, was portrayed by the inimitable Slappy White. Born in Baltimore, Maryland on September 27, 1921, White had a captivating life story, including running away to join the circus during his childhood. He initially pursued a career in dance before turning to comedy in 1940 when he joined the Two Zephyrs alongside his partner, Clarence Schell. Together, they graced renowned stages, sharing the bill with the likes of Lionel Hampton, Count Basie, and the one and only Duke Ellington. White's West Coast debut in Los Angeles at the Orpheum Theater, alongside the legendary Louis Armstrong, marked the beginning of his journey to the silver screen. After the Two Zephyrs, he formed his second successful comedy duo, Lewis and White, performing with stars such as Johnny Otis, the Ink Spots, and once again, Count Basie and Duke Ellington. White's talent knew no bounds as he appeared on television with the Maury Amsterdam show. In later years, White came full circle, appearing on his friend Red Fox's show Sanford and Son as Fred's friend, Melvin. His career continued to flourish, including a $1 million contract to perform at the Flamingo Hotel in Las Vegas in 1973. White's comedic prowess was further recognized when, in 1986, Milton Berle planned a situation comedy called Moscow and Vine, with White set to star as Berle's old vaudeville partner. Beyond his acting career, White was a Friars Club roast regular, sharing the stage with comedy legends like Milton Berle, Jackie Vernon, Pat Buttram, and Dick Shawn. Even after his passing, White's legacy endured, with bootleg recordings of Friars Club roasts circulating among comedy enthusiasts. His influence even extended to the beloved show Seinfeld, where his name was featured in the episode titled The Money. Slappy White's life came to a peaceful end at his home in Brigantine, New Jersey, just 38 days after the passing of his longtime friend, George Kirby. At the time of his death, White was preparing to retire from acting and relocate from Los Angeles to New Jersey. Demond Wilson as Lamont Sanford. Demond Wilson portrays Lamont Sanford, Fred's son who struggles with his father's eccentric behavior. Lamont often faces the consequences of dismissing his father's habits, occasionally appearing naive and gullible, such as when he's duped by card sharps or falls for a scheme involving a fake antique commode. He consistently strives to improve his circumstances and explore life beyond the junkyard. Wilson was born in Valdosta, Georgia in 1946 and grew up in New York City, where he trained in tap dance and ballet. He made his Broadway debut at the age of 4 and performed at Harlem's Apollo Theater by 12. Raised Catholic, Wilson served as an altar boy and later starred in the short-lived CBS comedy series Baby, I'm Back, and as Oscar Madison in the ABC sitcom The New Odd Couple, a modern adaptation of the 1970-75 series originally featuring Jack Klugman and Tony Randall, which itself was based on the 1968 film starring Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau. Wilson has authored several Christian books addressing the perceived dangers of the New Age movement. His book, New Age Millennium, released on December 1, 1998, by Cappy Publishing and Literary Cumber LLC, is described as an exposé on certain New Age symbols and slogans. He has also written children's books and made numerous guest appearances on the Praise the Lord program on the Trinity Broadcasting Network, where he is a close friend of Clifton Davis. Wilson guest starred on the UPN sitcom Girlfriends as Lynn's biological father. In the summer of 2011, Wilson began touring with actress Nina Nicole in the play The Measure of a Man by Matt Hardwick, a faith-based production set in a small town in South Georgia. Wilson has been married to former model Cicely Johnston since May 3, 1974, and they have 6 children. He was also childhood friends with Basketball Hall of Fame player Charlie Scott. If you found this video informative or heartbreaking, please like, share, and subscribe for more stories like this. And remember, laughter, even through tears, is a powerful thing. Thank you for watching.